Hello again. Gonna have an interesting stream tonight. Looking forward to doing some pretty cool stuff. First thing I want to do tonight is look at birth cards and take a look at what that means, and then we're going to take a look at the upcoming week, for all the signs. I figured I would just sort of get them all out in a live stream and then separate them later into individual videos for each of the signs. And so we'll get through the stream and then we'll cut them up and put them out individually after the stream. And doing something fun today also. We're going to do some readings for pets. I don't know if you've ever wondered what your pet is thinking. Today we're going to find out. So, that said, as we're sort of waiting for the stream to build up, I'll start sort of shuffling through this here and talking about one of the ongoing topics of the stream here over the past several days, and that's the parts of the tarot that don't change with respect to your experience, right? So, you know, we read the cards to gain insight into the sort of karmic flow of our lives and the ways we're being pulled in directions, or the influences that we are sort of forced to contend with. But there's also some parts of the tarot that are very, very important in our lives individually, but that don't change. And one example of that is your birth card. And so this card represents a very specific aspect of your life, and it's determined by using a chart, which is really just the sky broken up, very similar to a chart that you'll see as a natal chart in astrology. This was used for a very long time by astronomers as well as a plotting device, and is a very effective tool for essentially overlaying different bodies of knowledge in one symbol. So this particular chart is very effective in that. And so let's take a look at the chart, and I'll use myself as an example as the stream builds up here, and let's jump to the wheel. Okay, so I am a Sagittarius, right? So we're looking at my card would be the Ten of Wands. Okay, so that would be my birth card. Let's use, I guess, Holy Light, since that's what I'm shuffling. So we'll use the Tarot of the Holy Light. Let's find the Ten of Wands. And this card essentially is my birth card in very much the same way as my rising sign, as an example, which is, you know, an aspect astrologically that's tied to the moment, or perhaps your astrological sign, which doesn't change. So this is the Ten of Wands. At least this is the Ten of Wands in the Tarot of the Holy Light system. The artist, it looks like, conveyed, or was attempting to convey, an overall feeling of like an ancient alchemical or ancient hermetic treatise, woodcut, and coupling that with a very vibrant, it looks like a deliberately prime color kind of palette. And it really invokes a very interesting feeling when you're reading this deck. The symbolism is very similar yet very different in a lot of ways too to the normal system that we're all familiar with, the Rider-Waite Golden Dawn system. However, the card in this particular circumstance represents Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius due to the fact that the card represents the element of fire. First and foremost, it's a wand, right? And it's the 10 of that, so that is very similar in respect to the element to the ace. The ace is the sort of root core of the element, and the 10 is that element realized in the physical world, right? And the small cards represent the higher place, the as above, manifested physically. Right, so we have the majors, and then we have the small cards, which represent the physical reality. And so what the tens are the highest form of the physical manifestation of that element, and so in this case fire, and so it represents all three signs, not just a small influence, but a larger one. Right? And so their depiction here is very indicative of that. But the way that you would derive this card is by taking a look at the wheel and deciding, or rather locating your birthday along that outer edge, and you'll find your card along that wheel. And how this is derived is essentially the ancients would, when they looked at the sky, it's a little unclear exactly who it was, but there was a certain point that the decision was made that they were going to use 360 degrees for the sky, and it was convenient to sort of chop that up into 10-degree pieces so that you could point to things and reference things and so on. And so that created 36 sections of the sky, and those are the deacons, right? And so what this chart is really showing us are the deacons, and each little sliver, in this case each card or each 10-degree period, represents one of those deacons. And so you'll notice there's no major arcana represented. It's all the small cards. There's no aces. And so what this is essentially a holographic representation of the higher world as a three-dimensional shadow in our reality, in the lower, the as above, so below, right? And so what that represents is this world, the lower world, right? What if my soul is already sold? You could probably buy the paper from somebody else. I wonder how much they'd profit. You know what's the interesting thing about that too? I'm going to leave the comment up because that's pretty cool. There's a very important point that we need to remember through our travels, and that is that power is given. The difference between demons and angels is that demons require permission to work, and angels don't. They are granted a certain authority due to the fact that their actions are within and inconsistent with balance. So your soul is never in danger because it is protected by the fact that it can't be damaged without your permission. And so your participation is necessary for there to be any danger. So, Tiara, hello. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. So we're doing a couple things today. And since you're the first to say hi in the chat, what we're looking for is the birth card. Exactly. So let's take a look. So all I need, you don't need to put the year, is your day and month. And I'll what we're going to do is take a look at the chart here and then find your card. And then we're going to do something interesting from there once we find it. So here's the chart. Okay. If you don't want to put your birthday in the chat, then just look at the chart and tell me the card. And then I'll go ahead and grab the card for you, and we'll go from there. If you look at the starting at the bottom right in that yellow area is where we are right now. We're actually in the Six of Wands period. And we're moving from that into the Seven of Wands, which will be in a couple of days. On the 12th is when we enter that. And that's when we move from this Jupiter energy into Mars, which is interesting. We go from this confident, powerful place into something that's potentially a little more, sporadic. Oh, that's really cool. I have the same card as you, so we're the Ten of Wands. December 16. That's very cool. Awesome. Okay, so you are the Ten of Wands. And actually, I just spoke about that. So if you didn't hear that, if you weren't in the room at the time, let me find the card for you. And we'll go over it real quick. There we go. Okay. Okay, this is the Ten of Wands. And one of the first things that we'll notice about this card is that it represents the element of fire in all of the suits, right? So we have Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, all represented in the card, and they're all the fire signs of the zodiac, right? And in fact, if we jump back to that wheel, we can see the fire signs in Sagittarius, as an example, Leo, the yellow on the bottom right, okay, and then Aries on the bottom left portion, that red area. These three are the fire signs, cardinal, mutable, and the fixed of the fire signs, right? Okay, so this card represents all three of those signs. Now, why is that? Usually cards represent one sign, one planet, one Sephiroth of the tree of life, right? We have the tree. But in this case, here we are, we have a card that represents all three of the fire signs. What's that all about? Well, it's a 10, okay? And the 10s are an important part of the tarot and different from some of the other small cards because the 10s represent the element that's in the suit, in this case the wand representing fire, but in the real world, right? So the major arcana represent the as above, and the small cards, all 56, represent the soul below, the manifest reality, 3D, time, space, and so on, the world we live in, where events take place and where things happen. So the 10, however, represents the highest form of that element in physical reality. So it doesn't represent the higher world. It represents the lower, the world that we live in, of physical reality, but the element's highest manifestation in this world. Okay, and so the 10 of Wands is that of fire. The others are water, earth, and air. The cups, swords, and pentacle. The wand being fire. So what we have is the manifestation of and the utilization of the different modes of fire in all of its forms. So one example of that is that you can have it in the form of a candle. You can have it in the form of a bonfire. Fire can appear in the form of a firefly that's outside, and you see it flash just for a second and it's gone. And fire exists in the form of a glow of the moonlight that allows you to walk through the forest in the dark. It has many ways that it manifests, and what this card represents is all of them. And so as a lesson, it's to pay attention to the qualities that are inherent in the elements, right? Light, heat, visibility, movement, motion, passion, willpower, drive, all of these components, and how those ultimately are a necessity for the application of all of the other elements and how they interplay. And so fire is an important component of that. So you are the fire. You are the fire of the events that occur. Some other people would be the water, and together the two make steam. Some other people will be the air, and together the two can make rain, and so forth. And so there is everyone has their role, and your role, your destiny, essentially when God shined the light of truth upon your shape when you were born, the shadow that it cast was this card, and that is that you have this tendency toward being that driving force, that the heat that allows things to begin to move and come into action. Okay. Now, another thing that I'd like to do then is let's go ahead and look at today. All right, today is the 9th. Let's jump back to the wheel. Okay, and so we're right here in the 6 of Wands. Okay. Actually, let's look at the cards of the day. We have the 6 of Wands and then Strength. We'll talk about Strength in a minute, but the 6 of Wands is the card of the day. And so what we do is we take your card, which is the 10 of Wands, and apply that with the 6 of Wands, and we see how those two gel. Okay, and this is relevant until the 12th. And that's when the energy changes from the 6 to the 7 of Wands, right? So for right now, you have the 10 of Wands, which is the combined manifestation of the fire signs in the real world, and then you have the 7 or the 6 of Wands. The 6 of Wands represents the energy of a person who has the ability to gather like-minded people, or to bring together a group when necessary. Whether that's because they're looked at as a center of respect, or they have succeeded in some way and people follow that. Regardless, there is some quality about them that gives them the ability to attract an audience, or to gather people. And then you have the 10 of Wands, which, there's a few qualities about the 10 of Wands bright is an important one. More importantly, noticed, seen. The idea that something is lit means that it is noticed. There's an opportunity to see it, as opposed to dark where it wouldn't be seen. And so the card is very indicative of that. And so when you put those two things together, what you have is over the next several days, hey Newton, good to see you. List isn't closed. Nope. Over the next several days, you should expect to have a quality of having an easy time enrolling others in your ideas, and having an easy time enrolling others in your kind of way of doing things. And it's not a bad time to take advantage of that, since the overall energy is assisting in that anyway, and will, again, just for the next several days, not change. On the 12th, we moved into the 7. Okay. Okay. Great, I hope that was insightful. And, you know, I have some interesting ideas for tonight, too, as far as I really want to focus on a couple of different things that I haven't tried yet. For instance, the pet readings. I already did the reading and cut a shorter version for TikTok, and so now the reading is done, and this goes for well, there's 2 different actual readings that I am doing. There's the single pet, and then if you have multiple pets, if it's like a large sort of group of fur babies, you know, like a little baby family, that is a different reading than the single pet one, right? So we'll get to that in a sec. Let me just take a look at the chat here real quick. Okay, Newton, yeah, sure. Give me about maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll answer that question. And another important thing that we're going to be doing tonight is running through all of the signs for the upcoming week. And so I'm just going to run straight through from Aries on down, and do it all in one shot on the live stream. And then what I'll do is break them up and then post them as separate videos after the fact. So we're going to be doing that as well tonight. So hang out for your sign reading. And if you are a pet owner or multiple pet owners, we'll be doing the pet reading here as well in just a little bit. Okay. So let's put this away. Now, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to light an incense real quick. I love Nag Champa. Okay, so that being said, let's go ahead and take a look real quick. And Newton, okay, characteristics of future husband and how he will treat me as a wife. Sure, let's take a look at what's a good deck for that. You know what? I think I'm going to use. Let's show the list here. It's just a short list. I don't pull out all the decks every stream. That would get a little crazy. I'm going to use the Terror of the Abyss by Anatorian. I think that's a good one, actually. Yeah, let me do that. Oops. Crisis averted. Interestingly, too, one card came out, so that's the one we're using. Let me make sure there's nothing else in here that doesn't belong there. Okay, good. Okay. So we just leave those out. Those are inevitably going to come out tonight, so I might as well just leave that. There it is. Okay. Again, this is the Tarot of the Abyss by Anna Torian. And this is for Newton. The question is, characteristics of future husband and how he will treat me as a wife. Okay. So let's take a look at that. Now, it's funny, I was pulling the deck out, and yeah, I have it in a box here with a couple of other decks, and the other deck almost fell out, and this card is the only card of this that happened to have popped out with it, and so this is, I'm not going to shuffle, I'm not going to cut, I'm just going to use that as the answer. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the desk. Okay, this is the Queen of Pentacles. This is a card of strength. The question is the source of the strength. She's obtained the key, and she's able to open this thing that she's been looking for, and inside of it she's found the treasure. Now, essentially what this card is representing with respect to your question is, this is a moment right before the realization of the bounty. You found it, but its true value is found in the king. So this is the moment right prior to that, which is a good thing. And it is she is in a position of power. So in respect to your question as far as how will you be treated as a wife, I do see this as you being in a position of strength, equality. The pentacle is very solid, is very strong, is some of the qualities, for an example, are heavy instead of light. Right, and so unmovable, and those are just some of the basic qualities of the element, right? So you're in a good position in that respect, and what I would say, I kind of get a positive vibe any way I look at it. Whether it be sort of how you're viewed, because it's important when you consider that the card that came out is the Queen, as opposed to, say, the Page or the Knight, you know, and so forth. And so that implies that there is an authority, there's a reverence, right? So you will be revered by this person. And you will have the sense, you will have the sensation, the feeling that you found something precious. And I think that's really the important lesson there. Okay? If you'd like to look any further into that, and certainly this goes for anybody else in the stream with us tonight, I'm available to do private readings by appointment. There's instructions in the description. As well, or we can do on the stream here. If you'd like to do something a little more advanced about that, the past, present, future isn't bad for that type of reading, or the mind, body, soul is a very good reading with respect to kind of looking at what is your current karmic silhouette and what is theirs, and do those harmonize or not, right? So that's an important kind of thing. The body part tells us, is there a physical connection that's appropriate or not, and is that going to work out, or is it going to be a disappointment? And the soul part is basically, or the mind part rather, is basically, you have an equality there, or will there be a an obvious disparity with respect to intellect, subject matter, interests, things like that. So it's a really good relationship reading. That's the mind, body, soul. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that back. Alrighty. So, let me take a quick peek at the stream here. I've been up and down on having issues, and so I just like to every once in a while take a look and make sure that we're not having a problem. If anyone is having any issues, please let me know. As far as with bandwidth, or if you see stuttering, or the music is too loud or too low, or audio problems. The stream is new. I'm using a new setup, and so it's not at 100% yet. I haven't 100% figured it out, and so you guys can help me out and get that done. Okay. So again, we're looking at birth cards today, and we're looking at pet readings, which is really fun, especially if you have multiple pets. Then it can get really interesting. And the weekly astrological, which is that's a good one, because there's a lot of energy going on this week that. It seems like some of us are going to have a super easy time, and some of us are going to have to work for it, right? So we'll gain a little bit of insight about who's who in that circumstance, and kind of where you fall, and how we can, moving forward, prepare for that, so that we're not blindsided, and we can have a better experience. Right? So there's that. Okay, so let's look at the pet readings real fast. Now there's two readings that I put together. There's one for if you have one pet. You've got the only child. You've got the fur baby. That's the prince and the princess. That's like, the queen of a house. That reading's for you. Or if you have a big group of pets, I have a separate one that I'll get to in a sec, right? So the first one that I had put together was for the single pet, and this is the message. So basically, what the reading is for is, did you ever want to know what your pet is thinking? Let's find out, right? And so the first one is that I like it when you share stuff. Thank you for sharing your food, but why don't you share everything? I wish you would share everything. So that's the first message from your little prince or princess. This is for your solo fur baby. This is if you have one pet. And another one is that I know I'm not allowed, but when you're not looking, I do it anyway. So that's another message. And then we have the Ten of Swords, which within this particular circumstance means, and this is what it means for pets. So when you see this card for pets, this is what it means. Ten of Swords is, I love it when you scratch me in my favorite spots, but sometimes you don't get all of them, and I wish you would get all of them. So please get all of my favorite spots. Okay, so that's the message of the day for your solo prince or princess. And if you have a group setting, we have a little circumstance here. So if you have a group setting, we've got the 2 of Swords, 3 of Cups, Knight of Cup. Or 3 of Disc, Knight of Cup. And so what we wound up with here is there's a little bit of boredom, or maybe there's one of the pets is kind of feeling like they're not getting their fair share of the attention, and it's kind of causing some acting out. The acting out may be with them or with some of the other dogs that are reacting to how they're being, but there's one important thing here. One of them is wetting, and that's due to anxiety, and so apply a little bit more attention to that one, kind of in front of everybody, so they can have the experience of feeling good about the fact that they're kind of being paid attention to, and be patient with the fact that the acting out is temporary, and it's not health related, although it is probably the older dog. It's not health related, it's anxiety, so they just need a little bit of extra love, and then they'll be better, okay? Okay, great. So that was the pet reading for the week, or for the day, rather. And we'll continue that every day. Now, this is an interesting time in the world right now. The energy is so tense, and I think it's easy to forget that there's a lot of good stuff going on, and there's a lot of people out there that, for whatever reason, whether it's through strength or friendship or love or whatever their technique is, are able to not let it affect them, and they become a positive influence in our lives. And so I think it's important, if any of us have the ability to do that, that we do, and that we sort of take responsibility to try to heal this situation. Some of those ways are very practical. Whatever your opinion is, whatever color, whatever party, whatever religion, whatever, follow it faithfully. Follow it with your heart, and not some jumping on the bandwagon approach, right? We want to be authentic, no matter what it is that we're trying to convey. So, that said, let me pull these out here. One of the things we're going to talk about tonight as well is if you're interested in looking at some of the influences of relationships, and you're not 100% sure like which card to use for the significator, or if you're doing a reading for, say, a love interest, or a job opportunity, things along these lines. It's you can use this same chart, or a chart similar to it, to decide what card should represent that person, right? So if you are looking for a relationship spread between two people, you can find your card. Say your card is the Ten of Wands, right? And there, the say they wind up as the Four of, or the Nine of Cups. Okay, let me zoom out here. So you have the Two of Discs as an example, could be you, and then the Nine of Cups would be them, and you can read this connection, right? And see if there's anything, any kind of like harmony or dissonance here. And so, clearly there's a number of ways that this could be looked at. Initially, I would say, obviously, that these are both feminine energy cards, right? There's the feminine energy of the cup, and then there's the feminine energy of the disc, and these are two different kinds of energies, right? One is very fertile and receptive and active in motion, and then here you have more of the mother. You have more not so active, but stable, right? So it's more of the mother feminine energy, and this is more the younger feminine energy, right? And that might be a good thing in this relationship. What you see here, just alone on that, it would be that there would be somewhat of a balance, and it's not a disharmony. It would depend upon the two and how they approach that. But they're not opposites, is what I get at. Water applied to earth gives you clay, which is malleable, moldable, shapeable. That said, by knowing the birth card, it's a very interesting, quick technique to do some quick learning on a situation. And there's a number of ways that you can pick that card. Again, for an individual, you find their birthday. If you're not 100% sure, let's assume you don't know, but you know a kind of what month or ish, you could at least go to the sign and it'll give you a range of 3 cards. It'll be somewhere in that suit. So you now have at least an element. You have at least an idea of a basic. But another way that this can be applied as well is the date of the formation of a company that you're going to go work for. And combine that with the date of your interview. Right? And just look, that overall would be a specific kind of influence that you should consider along with your birth card. Okay? Nikita, hello. Thank you for joining. Good to see you tonight. So I'm doing some interesting stuff tonight as far as birth cards and sign readings. If you'd like to participate in that, your birth card is a card that is representative of the day you were born on the decan scale of the astrological wheel, the natal wheel, basically. And so this would be overlaid on top of a natal chart, in a sense, and this would allow you to take a look at specific times of the year and then determine what your card would be on the day you were born. So you would use the outside portion of the wheel where the dates are, locate your birthday, and then tell me what card is your birth card. Or you can tell me your birthday, which would be the month and date. I don't need the year, just the month and date. So you can take a look at the chart here and let me know. And I'll find the card for you. Nikita, if you're still in the room, let me know and I'll be happy to take a look at your birth card and do a quick little personal message for you. And anybody who joins my live stream and participates in the chat is welcome to a free personal message. Okay, those two are going to pop out, so we're going to just see why. Why did these two cards pop out? What is it that we should know? Let's take a look. 4 of Wands. 9 of Wands. Let's see what we got on the desk here. Okay, 4 of Wands. And the 9 of Wands. Very often the 4 of Wands is a card that looks like a canopy has been built for a celebration, right? So let's take a look at the Rider-Waite version so that you guys can have a context here of what I'm talking about. I'm sure everyone's familiar. Some of these cards in the Rider-Waite are so iconic that even people who don't use tarot have seen them. I don't know if this is 100% one of those cards, but I think it might be. It's one of those symbols that a lot of people just recognize. Alright, so you see that canopy there? I might as well get the 9 of Wands out too. See that canopy there? That canopy is very indicative of, and see the ladies in the back with the flowers. There's a bunch of people gathered back there. This is very indicative of a celebration, all right? A wedding, something's happened that is good, and people are gathering because of that. Okay. There you go. Oh, that's the 8. Okay, pardon me while I shuffle through these cards here. I'm looking for one particular card. So here's the 4 of Wands, and we have this idea of the canopy that has been erected for the purpose of a celebration of some kind. And then here we have the 9 of Wands, which is representative of, let me zoom in on that so you can see what I'm referring to here. It's somebody who has, come back from the battle, right? And this idea here, what we're referring to is essentially this fence is there to protect you from the mountain. Hello. Good to see you, Smiley Girl. Thank you for joining. Let me zoom out here. Just explaining a couple of cards that just popped out, sort of out of the blue here. So let's see. Anybody who joins the live stream here and participates in the chat is entitled to a free personal message and a birth card. So let's take a look. This message is for Smiley Girl. The Page of Cups is a carefree individual with a light heart, friendly. They give freely emotionally. They're lucky. There's an air about them that people like because they just seem joyful. And it's generally speaking as a positive energy. So in a yes or no, it's a yes. In a positive negative, it's a positive. Light or dark, it's a light. It is a feminine energy. It is an energy of reception. There's a couple of qualities here that I think are interesting to note about that. Bloom, there's a lot of light, there's a lot of implied motion, and also the fact that the water is coming from elsewhere. It's coming from like divinity. So basically it means it's also being nourished karmically. The water coming from this eye is the water is coming from the eye, which is coming from the sky, represents in a sense that it's the source of that water is divinity, and it gives freely. So essentially, divinity is nourishing the situation, and then that's definitely, a yes. Okay, so that's how I represent that as well. Violet, hi, how you doing? Thanks for stopping in on the stream tonight. And hello, Kunika. Kunika? I'm gonna go with Kunika. And so we're doing some fun stuff tonight. We're doing birth cards, and I'll find it with you, and we'll find it together. Your birth card is kind of like your sign. It doesn't change throughout your life. It's something you sort of carry with you throughout your life, like your sun sign, as an example. And most people aren't aware that they have a card, but you do. And so if anyone would like to, sure can, Violet, no problem. If anyone would like to participate in that, then you can either put your birthday in the chat, so just your month and day, don't need the year, or if you're not comfortable putting your birthday in the chat, let me pop the wheel up here. This is the wheel that we use to determine which deacon represents which period of time, right? So that'll be the, your birthday. So let's jump to that wheel right here. So this is for Violet. And just locate your birthday on that outer ring where you see the dates. And then that will tell you what card. Like as an example, my birthday is December 16th. And so that makes me the 10 of Wands, right? So April 4th puts you at... the 3 of Wands. You are the 3 of Wands. And not only is it Aries energy, which is already fire, but it's Sun in Aries energy. So you must be a pretty intense person when you want to be. Cardinal fire, well, but that's just sort of an Aries thing. But the fact that that particular period of time, that particular chunk of the zodiac is a Sun Aries, and so that's it's dynamic. We'll just put it that way. So let's find a 3 of Wands. Okay, let's just check that again to make sure that I got that right. April, 3 of Wands. Yep. Okay. This particular deck that I'm using tonight is it's called the Tarot of the Holy Light. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith based deck, which basically means it's a Golden Dawn based tarot, but it kind of goes its own direction in a lot of places too. But ultimately you wind up in a very similar place symbolically. They just took a different approach to the visual presentation. There we go. Okay. Let's zoom in here for you. I'm also going to pull out the familiar Rider-Waite-Smith version as well. This is the 3 of Wands in their particular circumstance. There is the 3. Okay, so this is the traditional 3 of Wands. This is the version on the Tarot of the Holy Light. Now, it's hard for me to look at this and not see the story, the biblical story of the serpent. Although obviously the tree is devoid of fruit, and I don't think that's where the artist was intending to go. It's a 3-headed serpent. It's totally different symbolism. It's actually just alchemical in nature as opposed to anything else. And this symbolism, I think is not very similar to that. And so let's just take the Rider-Waite version first. Okay, and now this card also implies waiting. It's like the moment before the journey, and the sensation that this person has in this circumstance is this sensation of the desire to leave, right? Like you've planned the trip, you've done the dreaming, you've done the saving, the packing, the trip's about to happen, and you show up first and you're ready to go, right? Like it's like. So there's that drive to explore, to discover, and there's this implication that you're kind of, at times, sort of as a quality of your character, prevented from doing that because you're waiting for other people, right? So that's the idea in this particular circumstance. So here is a totally different alchemical event that is a little bit more on the complicated side, and I'm not sure if it's really within the scope of this stream, but it has a lot to do with the 3 elements sulfur, mercury, and a certain level within that process of those things combining in order to make things happen. So it's a very sort of complicated alchemical kind of process. But although that is something that we can explore in a little more advanced, thorough kind of reading, not sort of a one card stream type of reading, but more of a full spread, or like a maybe even like a karmic, like a past life type thing. Okay, so let's see here. There's some other things as well. Let me jump back to that wheel here. All right, so Sun in Aries. There's obviously the Three of Wands. And Aries, just as a card itself, is represented, at least in the tarot, as the Major, the Emperor, right? So let's jump to that. Let me just... the Emperor is the Major, your major birth card, as opposed to the Minor, which would be the Three of Wands. So let's find the Emperor here. Jeez. Okay. So you can apply that as well. And one of the very interesting thing that you can do with this knowledge, it's like, okay, so what? So I learned my birth, card. But actually, one of the things that's kind of neat about that is you can, it's kind of a mini horoscope. You take your card of the day and you mix it with your birth card, right? And so your card of the day is the Six of Wand. And what the Six of Wand represents is a person who has the ability to gather like-minded people, to draw a crowd. Let me switch this, because this is the birth card, this is the daily card, and this changes on the 12th. This moves into the 7 on the 12th, if you notice. We, right now, are in the period on the bottom right, in the middle of Leo, right? The Six of Wand. And we're moving into the Seven of Wand. We're going to stay in Leo, but we are moving into a different period in a couple of days. But until that happens, we're in the period of the Six of Wand. Okay? So taking your card, your birth card, and combining it with the card of the current period of time and what you wind up having. Hello, Temple Moral. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, I'm glad. I appreciate that. I think that the music does make a difference. And anybody who joins the live stream and participates in the chat is entitled to a free personal message. And I'm happy to do that. If you'd like to participate, just say yes. If you want to find your birth card, just drop your birthday in the chat and I'll grab that for you. And so, in the meantime, this is for Violet. When you combine these two cards, you have this energy of where you are now, and then you could even preempt by taking a look at the 7 and knowing what to expect over the next several days, right? So you have this idea of this energy and desire, this sort of wanderlust, but you don't want to do it alone, and so you're willing to wait for those other people, but that stops you from moving. What this card represents is that there's this energy of somebody who has the ability to draw people together or be close, to take a role of leadership, okay, and to bring together like-minded people when necessary. And so this would be a period of time where maybe this could actually take place, because that energy is indicative of that, right? And then you can take a look at the 7 and see how that's going to progress over the couple of days after that, right? So that's one way that you use your birth card, is by doing a mini horoscope on a daily basis to get a sense of where you are and where you're moving on a karmic level. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look here. I hope that was insightful, Violet, and I appreciate you coming in. And all I could ever ask of anybody is if you find any value in what I'm doing, please give the video a like and consider a comment. That really makes a big difference. And share it with anyone who you think might also find value. Donations are always welcome. They're not necessary, but I truly appreciate it. And if you would like to do a bigger reading, those are available both here in the live stream and privately. Instructions are in the description. So that said, let's take a look at Temple Moro. Okay, so let's see here. So go ahead and type your question there. And in the meantime, I'm going to find your birth card, and we will go from there. While you're typing your question, I will find your birth number. So we have May 1st. So you are the 6 of coin. Renee, good to see you. Thank you for joining. You sure can, Renee. Anybody who joins my stream and participates in the chat is entitled to a personal message. Okay, so the 6 of coin, which is this is for Temple Moro. This is your birth card. This is the card that is derived by finding your birthday on the natal wheel. This is a technique that's used to sort of get your tarot sign, so to speak. Okay, and so when we look at May 1st, that brings us to the 6 of Pentacle. The 6 of Pentacle is very often considered a card of charity. You have as the symbol a person giving to the poor, so to speak. Right? He's got some money and he's dropping it into their hands, and they appear to be beggars. Kunika, you can ask as well. Sure, go ahead and drop it in, and as I go through the list, I'll grab it when I can. But there's an important implication to this card as well. It's not just that they're giving. Those scales are an important component. Those scales represent not just the fact that that person is a merchant, which is the initial idea that people think when they see that. That's not the case. What this is the idea of the representation of fairness, and that this person understands that due to their station in life that they have an easier experience, and in order to right that injustice in their mind, they give what they feel is necessary and appropriate to those lesser than them to right that wrong, to balance that imbalance from their perspective. So the method that's used in order to achieve that is charity. So there's typically a charitable portion of your soul, or there's a part of you that sort of nudges at you when you see an injustice and you feel like it should be righted. That's indicative of this, and that's a quality of your being that is highly manifest. You're known for it, at least amongst the people who know you well. Okay, so let's take a look at the question here. And just quick to, let me just jump back in here. This is your birth card, and so this card does not change throughout your life, Temple, okay? This card is indicative of the day you were born and does not change, so just keep that in mind moving forward. And so now that said, let's look at your question. Your question here, a time of reflection and rebuilding, a new start, lost everything after COVID began. I'm so sorry. I know what you mean. I don't, but I do. There's a lot of businesses that didn't do so well in my local area too. I live in a small area, relatively speaking. I do live in New York, but I live in a small mountainous town in the Hudson Valley. So let's look at your question here. My question is about my partner, the love of my life. We are in a breakup right now, and he's changed. I want to know why, and will he rediscover his love for me, and will we reconcile? I'm grieving. Okay, let's see what we can see. Okay, I'm not going to use this deck. I think I'm going to go back to Tarot of the Abyss, Anatolia. This really gives me very clear advice with respect to certain subjects, and I just get the vibe that this is one of those. It's a pretty intense question. And so it requires the correct vocabulary, right? It requires there to be the right energy. Nellie, good to see you. Thanks for joining. And while I'm shuffling for Temple, I'm going to pop up the wheel and let's take a look at what your birth card is. So I'm shuffling for Temple, but we're going to find Nellie's birth. No. And anyone else in the room, you can use this to find your birth card. Okay. So January 11 would be the 4 of Pentacles, so at the top left there, in that blue section. Capricorn, January 10th through 19th, and that is also the Sun in Capricorn. Very positive energy. Okay, Nellie, so your card is the 4 of Pentacles. That is your birth card, and that does not change. You carry that with you. Okay, now, so I'm going to throw some cards for Temple. A lot of stuff going on there, so let's take a look here. Okay, so the first card that we have here is the Sun. This is a major as opposed to a minor, and so what that means is the major arcana represent the as above and as above so below. It's the idea that, you know, things occur first in the higher world before they manifest here in the lower, and these cards represent that, right? The Sun is it's a card of a couple of things. A lot of times people right away jump to that it's a very positive energy, and so it's, oh yay, there's this positive energy. But the Sun, it can also be very destructive. The Sun can shed light. The Sun provides nourishment. The Sun provides skin cancer, right? So you can't really make a broad stroke interpretation of something as complex as the sun. It certainly does have some generalizations as far as a masculine as opposed to a feminine energy, hot as opposed to cold, dry as opposed to wet, bright as opposed to dark, things along those lines. Although I will say that there is a sense here of connection, and we'll talk about that in a minute as I get through a couple of these cards here. I'm going to throw down another couple and kind of take a look at what we're talking about here, how we're connected here. Okay. One of the things that was looking at, you had mentioned in your question that he changed, and that's an important thing that we want to consider. And my question is was sort of what's going on in his mind that led to that change, right? And so we have the King of Cups evolving into the Seven of Wands, right? So the King of Cups, we have somebody who is a couple of things, right? There's a level of confidence, but that confidence is because they have sort of a high empathy. And because of that, they come off in a way that people feel comfortable with. And there's a charismatic in some cases overly emotional, but a charismatic, extroverted kind of way of being, but it's evolved into the Seven of Wands. Now, let's look at the Seven of Wands here. Let me zoom in on that for you right there. The Seven of Wands here, you have somebody who is in the process of battling, right? They have this stick, and these are all spears, and there's everything's up against them. This is not what's happening to him, but it is what he's feeling. Okay, and even if it's not true, it's what he feels, and therefore it's true in his world, right? And so there's a sensation that everyone was against him. He was the one who was wrong, and he feels ganged up on. That's part of what's informed his behavior. And it's also the idea here where this power's kind of been lost, but the underlying element hasn't. And so he has to deal with all this emotion, all this water, without the faculties that he used to have that allowed him to control that. And that's not necessarily a good recipe in respect to relationships. And so there certainly does mean that there's some work that needs to be done in respect to him. So that he can begin to heal from this, because this is really holding back his ability to have a positive outlook on you or anyone else surrounding that circumstance in the relationship. Okay, now let's take a look at your place in that, and my question is how does he feel about you? Okay. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the King of Sword and the Three of Sword. Now this is not what's happening, but it's what he thinks is happening. Okay, there is a level of intellectual superiority. He feels like smarter than you, or has it figured out and you don't, or more enlightened, or the idea that arrogant, that's the word, intellectual arrogance, right? And also not trusting. This card too, the Three of Swords in the traditional Rider-Waite is the one with the heart with 3 swords sticking through it. It's one of the most iconic images in tarot. Well, I see that for sure, and there's also there's a sharpness to it, but internally, this is how he feels about you, but how he evolved in the situation is there's potentially even like not mental illness, but like lots of highs and lows. The water, the cup is the water sign, and the king, again, it's almost like a intense emotion, but typically the ability to control that, right? So anytime, though, that unfortunately things can occur that prevent that, they can really blow out of proportion. And those people can be, in some cases, downright dangerous, but no. Mostly not, but in some cases. Most of the time not. So now this, she chose very specifically to change the art into this circumstance where you have the book being the thing that's receiving the 3 swords as opposed to the heart. And what that means essentially is the destruction of the narrative. When you attach to an idea for so long that it just becomes kind of like a natural part of your being, and then something comes along and takes that away, tells you the truth, in some way forces you to change your mind about something that you believed, you're going to mourn that. And it's hard. And not everyone is able to so easily dismiss the narrative that they've bought for so long. And that is a problem with respect to how he views you. He still is having a little bit of trouble letting go of the narrative. You know what that narrative is, and you're going to have a struggle to overcome that. And so now that said, we know how he feels about the situation. We know how he feels about you. Let's look at the question here. Will he rediscover his love, and will you reconcile? So let's take a look. I hate this question, but I'm going to answer it if you'd like. So let's take a look. Let's do this actually. I'm going to take this out to represent him. I'm going to take this out to represent the situation. Moving forward, just as far as a context. And now, is there a possibility of there being a reconciliation? And you had to ask that question because reasons, right? So let's do it. Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you asked that question. Oh, it's so beautiful. My gosh. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. The Lovers. The card, the question is will he rediscover his love for you, and will you reconcile? And the answer that I got is the Lovers. And here's the beauty of the way that she designed this card. It's 2 trees that share a root system. That's just beautiful, because if you consider that, although your hearts may seem physically separated through this breakup, if it's real, then that's a perfect analogy energetically. There is, in fact, a shared root system between the 2 of you, and that's not so easily broken. And that's something that you might be able to continue to build something upon, right? And so, yeah. And I will say as well, Temple, if you do want to look further into that, I'm available for either a private consult or here on the live stream, but any of those spreads, And I'd be happy to review the situation from a couple of different angles and do something much more advanced if you'd like. And there's a number of different readings that I could think might be relevant to that. The mind, body, soul, which is kind of like a dual, like a soulmate kind of. But we look at all three. We look at the mind and how you two interact in that respect, and some of the ways that you can work around maybe some differences there to assist with communication. The body, which is really, are you going to be physically compatible, right? And it's kind of important. And then soul, is there a past connection, or are you new together? If there is a past connection, what are some of the karmic ripples that you should be aware of, and so on. And that mind, body, soul reading is very effective for that type of thing. Yeah. Otherwise, anyone who finds any value in what I'm doing, all I can really ask is that you like the video and consider commenting. It does make a difference with respect to Google and how they treat the channel. You're welcome, Temple. Really, I appreciate it, and I really hope I was able to provide some insight. Okay, let's take a quick look at the chat here. Nelly, I think Nelly is next. Am I correct? Or Renee? No, wait, where are we? Okay, yes, Renee, if you're still in the room. Well, let me do this before we get out of hand here. I'm going to make a list real quick, because I will be closing this list in just a moment. It's getting a bit late. Okay. Let's see here. I might, if I don't have this right, you guys will have to correct me. But it looks like we have Renee. Kunika. Nelly. Okay, Renee, Kunika, Nelly. I think that's it. Did I get it? Okay, good. So now, okay, Renee, great. I'm glad you're still here. Okay, so hang on. List closed. Okay, let me just pin this and then we'll get back to the stream here. Pardon me. Replace pinned message. There we go. Okay. All right, very good. Alrighty. Thank you so much, really, Temple. I appreciate that, and it really means a lot. I care about this. I take it seriously. I care about it, and if it's not making an impact, what's the point, right? So, okay. So Renee, let me scroll back in the chat here. Did you ask your question already? And if not, go ahead. Oh, will Dennis and I be together? Okay, great. Will Dennis and I be together? Actually, you know what? I'm going to use a different deck. I'm going to use the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. The Oracle of the Radiant Sun is an astrology-based deck that is focuses on the interactions of the signs and planets. So it's not a tarot deck from the traditional sense. but it is similar in nature due to the fact that they both come from a similar place. Like if you look at for instance, the Rose Cross, right, which is a very, very important symbol to the Rosicrucians. And that middle well, actually, the entire symbol is the tarot, but that middle portion in particular represents the planets, the signs, and the elements. And so, with Earth in the center, represented as the cross, which is an opened cube. But that said, astrology is so intrinsically built into the DNA of the tarot, know it or not, that even though this deck is not a tarot deck, the fact that it does focus on the planet and sign as the influence, it might as well be. Okay. So, but I do find that I get a good, it's good for relationship readings, let's just put it that way. It's good for love readings, it's good for what ifs. And so let's take a look. Okay. And just to clarify, will Dennis and I be together? Okay. Zoom in. This is the moon in Gemini. And what this represents is adaptability, or the ability to be flexible, to change in conformity with the situation. This is Venus in Gemini. Notice these are both coming out Gemini. Flattery is the act of telling somebody that they're beautiful when you don't mean it, right? That's the idea of the two-faced. It's sort of, well, okay. Let's rephrase that. It's not that they don't mean it. It means that there's, it's playful. It's not true. It's almost like that banter you get where, imagine like a supermodel walks by, you know, like a fat, hairy, smelly guy and says, "Hey, sexy." Right? I mean, there's this idea of like a playful banter about it, but there's no actual intent behind that. And that's what the flattery card means. And now we're going to take one more and connect these two, and that's going to give us an idea of where Dennis is. Okay. Okay, interesting. Let me zoom in on this so you can see this. This is Discovery, and this is Mercury in Sagittarius, which is a very good card for getting to know more, wanting to discover more. What I would say here is your ultimate answer with respect to Dennis is no. I don't see you getting back together. I see there being a lot of sort of flopping and a lot of indecision, but I don't see there being an idea of longevity. I kind of see the opposite. So yeah. And any sense of getting back together is kind of him playing. And so I'd be wary of that. Okay. Where are we on the list here? That was Renee. So next is Kunika. What do we've got here? Let's take a look. Okay. All right, Kunika, if you're still in the room, go ahead. And if not, then Nelly will be next. You're so welcome, Renee. No problem. And I'll say this to anyone. If you find value in what I'm doing here, all I can ask is that you like the video and maybe consider a comment. and sharing it with anyone who you think might also find value in what I'm doing here. A donation is always welcome. They're not necessary, but welcome. And if you would like to book a private reading, there's instructions in the description on how to do that. So, once again, Kunika, if you're still in the room, then we can take a look at what you'd like to look at. If not, then Nellie's last on the list before we call it an evening. Okay, in the meantime then, I'm going to take a look at back to the original deck that I started the evening with. It's the one on the top of the list there. It's called Tarot of the Holy Light. That is a very, very interesting deck that I think will get to the heart of that question for Nellie. Kunika, last chance. If you happen to pop in, I can throw a card for you before I end. Otherwise, this is for Nellie. List is closed. This is Tarot of the Holy Light. Okay. So, why are you dreaming about winning the lottery? Let's take a look. This is for Nellie. And the question is why have you dreamed about winning the lottery 3 times? The Two of Wands is a card of the great work. It's the union of the elements to create the final product. The Five of Discs is very often actually related, believe it or not, to financial ruin, which is strange. But when you combine that with the Two of Wands, the energy is much, much different. What we're looking at here is a fear of not being able to create what you want, not being able to have the thing that you're working toward. And this isn't an entitlement thing. It's not like I want this and, you know, so, and if I had my millions, I'd be able to get that. That's one manifestation, but that's not what I mean in this circumstance. In this circumstance, what I mean is that you have this thing that you've worked toward or something that you've always wanted to build and that you have a talent for, but that you feel like you're being prevented from being able to manifest fully, whether it be because of a financial limitation or some other way. Unfortunately, I don't see it as meaning that you're going to win the lottery. Although certainly that doesn't preclude the fact that you could. Certainly that's possible, but I don't see the dream as having to do with financial gain or ruin. I see that it has more to do with there being, in your case, a fear that the work you put in might not be able to complete because of the of that issue. So, thank you, Temple. Wow, you just made me smile. I really appreciate that. So the lesson, Nelly, is that let go of the fear, because when it comes to creation, there's an important part of that, which is that we get to participate in the creation, but we are not the sole creator. And so we don't always get to control the timing. Stay on course and continue to dream and continue to build and create and manifest your beauty in the world, because that's what we're here to do. So anyway, I hope that was insightful, and if it was, please, again, all I ask is that you give the video a like and consider commenting and sharing it with anybody you think might also get some value. Otherwise, I really appreciate it. I had a great night tonight. Now let's just see, is there anything I wanted to go over that I didn't before I end the stream? I wanted to do the let's see, I did the pet readings. Anybody with pets, go to I'm going to leave this up, go back to the beginning of the stream, and you'll see the pet readings. That was a lot of fun. Let's see, we did, yeah, if it's your birthday, we did the daily message. We did the birth cards. We looked at the deacons. I think that was all I wanted to cover today. Okay. All right, great. Well, then, thank you so much, everybody, for joining the stream tonight. I had a great time. This was a lot of fun. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. Yeah, we were going to go over the signs, the astrological signs, and then sort of do a weekly reading based on your astrological sign. And so I did do the readings. I actually did it all and cut some stuff for TikTok, and thought that I might do the whole thing as one big reading on YouTube. And so maybe I'll do that, just not on the live stream. I'll just do it as separate little chunks for the rest of the week, as 12 different videos. I think that's probably a better idea anyway. So yes, it absolutely does, Nelly. And if you want to look into that a little further, next time I'm on a live stream, if you hit the bell, you'll know, so you can jump on. Next time I'm on a live stream, we can look a little further into that, or if you'd like, we can do something in private. Those numbers, incidentally, the pricing for the readings are the same for my private readings. So if you wanted to do a private reading for $5, we'll do that, or $10. There's specific spreads that are relevant to that, and it's at my discretion how far we go with that. So if I decide to throw a few more cards, so be it. So that'll be in the description there. For anyone who's in the room right now, if you'd like, we can take a look at the some of the stuff that I had done for the weeks for the astrology sign. I'm not going to go through them all, just for the people that are in the room right now. So anyone who would like their very quick, it's a very quick one card type of astrological interpretation for the week coming up. And so just drop your sign in the chat, and I will look it up for you. I'm a Sagittarius. And this week is the idea of some of the work that you've put in. It's time for that to benefit you. Specifically, like, for instance, my tomatoes are doing really great because I did the work, and I watered them, and I fertilized them, and I got good dirt, and took care of them, and sang to them. My tomatoes love when I sing to them. You asked me how I knew. So, and because of that, and as a side effect of that, I get to reap the reward of having healthy tomatoes this week. And it's the idea of Saturn in Capricorn, this idea of practicality leading to reward, and this being the week of being able to realize that reward, right? And so that is this week. That energy is there to assist that in happening for Sagittarius. So, who is the Aries? I forget who the Aries was. Let's see. Let's go back. And so, that said, I really appreciate everybody joining the stream tonight. I look forward to it again. I'm not 100% sure whenever I jump on. It's hit or miss as far as when I start. I just do. And I'm committing to doing a stream every day, at least for an hour, and then from there, however long I decide to keep going, and however long the community keeps it going. So thank you so much for everyone that joined the stream tonight, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.